All right, so it's been about a month now, maybe a little over that, and I've been running this VGrow by Vivosun, and so far so good. Now I know it's veg, it's early on, barely even veg, seedling phase. Now currently I'm running the Donutz Triploid, or the Triple Donuts, whatever you'd like to call it, from the HSC crew. Things are going pretty good so far. So let's dive deep in and let's check a little bit more on this grow box, see an update, and see what I'm going to be growing in it. Stay tuned.
Like we always do about this time.
This video is for educational purposes only, YouTube. Now since we have a decent amount of these, I'm going to germinate them directly into the media. For this run, the media I'm using is ProMix HP with mycorrhizae mixed with craft blend from Build-A-Soil. Now as a general rule of thumb that you're going to want to keep your media moist, especially when you're growing in organic soil. And when planting a seed, it's important not to plant it too far into the media. A safe distance is about a fingertip, depending on how long your fingers are, of course, or 1 inch deep. Now the donuts can go into the VGrow, placed on top of the strings coming from the wick system. Now there's a water meter connected to the app, but there's also one right here to help you know when your water's low. I'm hoping to only have to top this off every few days, but we'll see how things go. They also sent over a fat brick of cocoa.
It's not Coke. It's not.
And some base nutrients. But I personally am going to be using an organic soil and stash blend for this run. Maybe for the drip irrigation, I'll use this mix. Now some really cool features with this is the app itself. You can utilize the Grow Pilot feature, which will basically walk you through the entire process. The Grow Pilot app even features videos to help you step by step in these processes that are a little bit more beginner, but are going to help you out if you're new to the grow game. What's nice is you can choose if this is a photo period, auto flower, and you can even manually dial in these aspects yourself, which is definitely useful. And again, like I mentioned in a prior video, you don't really have to deal with the app if you don't want to. All the controls are directly on the VGrow itself, so again, if you don't feel like downloading another app, you don't have to. So with the wick-based system, and this being a seedling, I am probably still going to have to top water here for a little bit. Unless I were to put that wick closer into the pot itself, like in the actual soil, and we're able to get to the root system, then it may be different. But in this case, there will be some watering by hand, of course, for a little while. So it would be a little bit different versus if I had drip irrigation or hydroponic, where it is kind of a set it and forget it thing. Now with that hand watering, I'm going to be utilizing stash blend each week, which will be able to help inoculate that root system with the beneficial bacteria and the mycorrhizae, but also being able to give some extra macronutrients and a little bit of micronutrients as well throughout the veg cycle and the flowering cycle. Now I don't expect to get a ton out of this. I definitely don't. But the great thing is these guys weren't running around claiming big crazy yields all the time. They may say certain things that you can get up to this, but it's not all over all their ads. It's not something that's the main point. And I think that's a big thing that I do give kudos to Vivosun for, is the fact that they focused on affordability, quality, and practicality. Big shout out to them for making that happen, and also big shout out to them for sending this grow box out. So why the Donutz Triploid?
Donut.
Well, in this case, I wanted something that was going to be a little easier to grow in here. Didn't really care so much if I was going to be cloning it. And for the most part, people say I should just be doing an auto in here. Well, this is kind of like an auto, I guess, because it's not very easily clonable.
No, it isn't, actually.
And it's not necessarily going to be something I may keep around. It's kind of just a test run. Now, there will be a variety of variables, of course, because this is a new genetic in a new setup, obviously. But at the same time, I'm going to be treating it similar to how I would be its sisters. I'm going to be low stress training it. However, it will be a little bit different in this case because I'm going to be doing some topping. Given that my height is very restricted in this case, I'm going to want to get the most I can out of a short squatty plant. So I'm going to start with topping it, then I'm going to do some low stress training and some super cropping all in there to kind of just get that thorough squatty, thick bush training that I need to get before she gets to the point of having to flip to flower. Now, if you're unfamiliar with any of these terms, we do have videos over here on CLtv that cover all this training and then some. You can check it out over on some training videos or up here in the description.
Down, actually.
Now, our buddy GT put out a video recently that was a little bit more doom and gloom, I'd say, on the whole triploid conversation. And my personal take on that, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into on a second video, but briefly, I just want to touch on that. So essentially, when you look at these triploids, I look at it kind of like I do with autoflowers. Is it the end of photo periods? Is it the end of breeding? Absolutely not. Now, if all the big breeders end up switching to triploids and they decide to not breed traditional genetics, then yeah, I get the argument. But majority of us are not going to be breeding and spending thousands upon thousands of dollars to test all these seeds for an additional chromosome. It's not feasible. Now, some of the big guys, of course, may do that, but again, I just see this being a variety, especially for commercial growers. But again, I'll touch on that in another video. To be continued. Now, I feel like this is the time where something like an autoflower, or again, something that you don't really have a perpetual grow, would do great in a grow box like the VGrow. And essentially, that's kind of how I'm going to treat this here. It's a little different. More of a test, like I mentioned in the first video, trying to make sure that I can get the right equipment and software, overall best grow box for my grandma, because I don't feel like the 2x2 setup that I was going to hook her up with was ideal. And again, that other grow box definitely was not going to cut it.
Abby, you're a liar.
So I don't mind setting this up and not even fully taking it down and bringing it over to her house. But also, again, the takedown is just so much easier with this. So we're going to run this. I'm going to do an update video, probably over on CLtv, which is my other channel. That way I can show some plants and not worry about risking this channel. And I have a really good feeling that this is going to do well because now, like I said, I'm not restricted to the app. That was the biggest issue other than the price point with the other grow box, is that app was just treacherous. It didn't work good in general. The cloud process was trash. And again, the firmware updates really just were a headache and messed up my whole process. When your whole grow is ruined over technology, it really just turns you off from the whole grow box side of things in general. The size, of course, the restrictions, yes. But again, something like this, the price point, what it does, and overall the technology, so far, I'm impressed. Now, we'll see down the road once I actually have a plant going all the way through here, but I'm going to treat this a little differently. I'm going to still use the Grow Pilot side of things, but I'm going to make sure that I'm consistently checking on the actual controller itself so I don't run into any issues. And now, if you're looking to get yourself one, they are very affordable in comparison to something like the Hey Abby. You can get this for almost half the price. And the quality is, in my opinion, double. Just go to watchcltv.com/VGrow. Well, if this is your first time seeing this VGrow and you're not familiar with it or you're a little skeptical, check this video out up here. It'll go over more of the details on the product itself, how you can utilize it, and some of the cool features that it has. With that being said, stay lifted. Peace.